Hello and welcome back to How About That Crypto. You are watching your daily crypto news and updates in 10 minutes with your host, Bitcoin Stylist on Twitter and Bitcoin Hairstylist on Instagram. Today's news stories are the Fed issues guidance, what you need to know, and the Facebook sells its cryptocurrency business. Hello, how are you? And Washington Post says that authoritarian governments should be worried about Web3. And if you stay to the end, I'll share my promise and commitment to you, my viewer, on some very important topics and issues. If you like or don't like, please let me know by giving me feedback or liking and subscribing. Please click on the link in my bio and it'll take you to my link tree, and that'll take you to the YouTube channel. That's 2 clicks, and then you click subscribe. That's 3 clicks. It really would help support me. It doesn't cost you anything. All right, and just to be clear and litigious, I have a message from my attorneys that this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. And if you want, you can follow on YouTube or on Twitter to the links to do your own research. All right, let's dive in. Fed announcements. The Fed has had a meeting yesterday and made some announcements. One is that our current COVID policies to deal with this pandemic are hurting the economy, and once those COVID policies shift and they add COVID so as the COVID stuff subsides and cases go down and the economy opens up and people don't have to quarantine and stuff, then those sectors will start to feel relief, which ripple through the economy, which is something that I said last week. So now the Fed is saying the same thing. Asset purchases are supposed to stop in March. And what is an asset purchase, Robert? Well, they're purchasing treasury bonds and mortgage-backed securities. What is that? Basically, it's government debt so that the government can continue to spend, and housing debt to support the housing market. If you remember, we had a massive crash, and one could argue that we're still supporting that from that long ago, although I could be wrong. But what this does is it injects money into the money supply. They talked about raising rates on the horizon, and I quote, "Markets are pricing in rate increases." That's something that the Fed chairman said, Jerome Powell. And it will soon be appropriate to raise the target range for Fed funds rate. And CNBC provides a comparison of the last Fed statement, which is really interesting. They just took the old Fed statement and crossed out certain words and added the words, and it's really interesting. What it shows is that the Fed is reducing the aggressiveness of their policy to reduce asset purchases compared to December, but it does show a commitment to stop those asset purchases. Basically, they're committed to stop pumping money into the market through those asset purchases. That'll help with the money supply. Rates are unchanged, but it sounds like a sure thing, and it also sounds like the markets have already priced in a rate increase. And the markets are responding as they normally would by pricing it in, taking profits, and tanking overbought assets. This causes people to move away from riskier assets, hence the crypto and tech dump. So basically, the Fed talks and says that we're going to raise rates and we're going to stop pumping in money into the money supply to help stop curb inflation. And the markets say, oh, okay, well, easy money is going to leave, so now it's time to take some profits and move away from risky assets and let the market sort itself out as the Fed makes their moves. Once the Fed starts making their moves, then we should see a little less pain, assuming that it doesn't take the stock market, but we'll see about that. Okay, so Facebook is selling their crypto business. All right, so Facebook, if you remember, Facebook had Libra, and they signed up Visa and PayPal. We're going to be part of it. They're going to create like a basket of currencies and issue their own stablecoin, and the government regulators were like, oh, no way is Facebook, who we already have issues with, is going to turn around and have their own international currency. And so that wasn't liked, so now they're selling it. They're selling it to a California bank called Silvergate Capital, who's supposed to issue stablecoins. In a stablecoin, I talked about in the past, is that each coin is backed by $1, so it doesn't go up or down. What does this mean? Does Facebook going full on metaverse, or is it an indication that crypto is getting regulated? Facebook knows something we don't, and they're scared and they don't want to be part of it. hopefully it's not that. Hopefully they're just trying to like get rid of that so they can just focus on the metaverse, because that's going to get a ton of regulatory scrutiny. All right, and my favorite story of the day is the Washington Post posted an article warning authoritarian governments that they should be scared of Web3. Now, I'm going to go through all the reasons and what this article said. It's really good. The link is, you should definitely read the link, but I do dive into quite a bit of it. But if you want to read it for yourself, check it out. Yes, I said the Washington Post. So this is mainstream news. This is a super positive thing here, and I'll tell you why. They talk about how data currently is not private. You don't have privacy. It is all your data is sold for profit. And some states even score their citizens, give them a score, and use propaganda and disinformation are rampant, which I'm sure everybody, I don't know anybody who would disagree with that statement. Web3 shifts balance to individuals, and if the U.S. embraces, it'll make us more competitive with China. This is so interesting. I'm so happy to see that mainstream media is starting to see these things. This is what I've been talking about the whole time while I started the show. Okay, and just to give you a background, I've talked about this before, but I'm gonna give you a background because it's in the article. Web 1 it was static sites and email. Web 2 became interactive, where users created their own content, but that created Google and Facebook, or Meta, and other massive tech platforms that are centralized that control this data, and they give you free services for your data. So it's not free, you're just giving up your privacy. It remains to be seen if people care, and hopefully they do, and they see the problems with it, but we'll see. I don't know. Web3 is, you can transact more securely. There are smart contracts. I did a video about that, so you can go to YouTube and watch a video explaining what smart contracts are, but it will allow users to make agreements without relying on an intermediary. What does that mean? It means that you don't need a bank to send me money or me to send you money, and you don't need a bank to pay for stuff at the store. You could just do a direct to vendor purchase. All right, all the major platforms are getting competition. Security is so much better in Web3. There is no central database to hack. Privacy is protected because users control their own data. And this is where authoritarian governments, they don't like that. They don't want people controlling their own data. They want to be able to surveil their citizens. It makes it more difficult to control their citizens, and it's harder to manipulate them. And this is good for democracy for two reasons, okay? This is direct from sounds like me talking because I talk like this, but this is in the Washington Post, okay? So, all right, two reasons, according to the Washington Post, that this is good for democracy and for the U.S. And I hope a lot of people watch this. First, or at least read this article. First, authoritarian states cannot abide private life because that's where anti-governmental activities can percolate. So China... So that's a quote, that's directly out of it. China and Russia spy on their citizens via Web 2. Okay, that's basically, and other authoritarian states. And this includes coercion, censorship, which we know a lot about, and makes them less successful at controlling their citizens, which makes them less powerful. And that is good for us and other democratic societies. Second, although the United States still dominates Web 2 in many ways, the web's current framework allows China to sweep up swaths of data to power its political and military artificial intelligence systems. The decentralization and personal data control of Web3 would make it much harder for China to maintain data dominance. Boom. Love this. Love this article. Mainstream is picking up, and I'm starting to understand. Let's see how well it's received. We don't know. All right, they do talk about the downside of Web3. Law enforcement is not going to be able to take down sites, and there's no CEO to enforce regulations, and big tech companies can go the way of Blockbuster, meaning all those tech companies could really take a dive, which could hurt like job creation. However, the crypto industry is massively growing, and they're already sucking a ton of people away from those companies anyway, so I don't know how big of a deal that is. The author of the article says, regardless of these issues, USA should adapt to, invest in, and promote it, the crypto industry, Web3. Geopolitics is about relative power. This is straight out of the article. Geopolitics is about relative power and relative gain. Conceptually, Web3 is innately more beneficial to Western liberal democracies which value democracy and personal privacy. This would return the advantage to the West and force China and other authoritarian states to confront their weaknesses and change them or fall behind. Now, that's a massive statement. And I would love your input and your feedback on this and see what you think about that. That's assuming, assuming that you see the U.S. as fitting into this category of a non-authoritarian state, because I know some people do feel that way sometimes, but we still have a process, and we're not Russia and we're not China, and we can preserve that by listening to these sorts of views. That's my opinion. Obviously, this is my opinion. All right, so tell me what you think. Subscribe. Give me feedback. Do you like how I speak about stuff? Do you like the news? Is there a certain type of news that you would like? I would like to know, and it really helps me. And clicking on subscribe on my YouTube channel helps me more than anything other than your feedback. So please give me one or the other or both. Now, at the end, I promise to tell you what my promise to you is and my commitment on some very important issues. And I think you know where I'm going with this because of how I reported the news today. We are keeping a watchful eye on developments and regulation. Obviously, regulation is going to determine if we go the way of an authoritarian government. Are we going to follow these authoritarian governments, or are we going to invest and adopt and promote it? We'll see. Anyway, tell me what you think. Until then, have a good day. Hodl on.